Welcome to the Debrief of the Villa podcast. Villa fans, I hope you enjoy the episode. Drop the video a like, get involved in the comments section down below. Joined by Justin. How are you?
Good evening, Luke.
Right, let's get stuck into this then. So I'm going to start off with what you can see from the title, the thumbnail of this video. You know, Unai Emery was absolutely livid after the game. It was absolutely raging. I spoke about it on the match reaction. What the one interview that I heard on TalkSport, and then as the night went on, I was watching different interviews that he did, and every single one he was saying the exact same thing of basically how annoyed he was and frustrated, and how what's happening in training isn't happening on the football pitch. And you know, I was annoyed on the match preview, the match reaction, and you know, I was saying my thoughts on how frustrated I was, and I feel exactly how Unai Emery feels watching it. I think, you know, at times there's positives, but we've got to look at this bigger picture on how we're trying to play and how good of a manager Unai Emery is. And we've said it from day one that he's an elite coach, he's an elite manager, he's one of the best coaches in Europe. And he still is. And it's all about Unai Emery setting his philosophy and his way of playing, and the players carrying out what he wants them to do. And unfortunately, whether you enjoyed the game on Saturday because you thought it was entertaining or what, you know, whatever, that's not an Unai Emery performance that we saw on Saturday. And it's not good enough. It's really not good enough for the way in which Unai Emery wants this Aston Villa side to play football. You know, we do a lot of episodes each week, and we talk about how he wants to play, and we look at the stats, and we look at everything that he wants this side to be. And at the moment, the players aren't fulfilling how he wants them to play. So we will get into it. But Justin, do you want to add anything before I get into the key points of what he did say?
Not really. I think you've covered it pretty well. You know, incredibly frustrating afternoon. So much potential and promise in that first half, barring the one mistake from Mings. It was almost, you know, perfect half, wasn't it? And then second half started to go downhill, and then ended, unfortunately, right at the end in an injury time double blow, isn't it? So lots to go over, lots to talk about. And the Emery era starts now. I think that's something that I've really felt this week. I said it about 3 weeks ago. I felt there was going to be it was going to be a tougher period than we thought, and things were probably going to get worse before they get better. And that's exactly what's happening at the moment. But all is not lost, and I think there's so much to be positive about, but there's lots to talk about as well.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate my point about Emery as well to start with, is that we have a manager for the first time in absolutely God knows how many years that wants to play football the right way. He wants to keep hold of the football, and that is the biggest point I can say. Unai Emery wants Aston Villa to dominate possession of the game. He wants us to have majority of the possession, to keep the ball and restrict the opposition from having numerous wave after wave of chances. So let's get into it. So these are the points that Unai Emery made. We are not playing football, controlling the game / the ball. We are waiting for the 90 minutes to pass. We don't play. We're not being confident, and he's disappointed. Reaction quickly and very different than what we are showing. He said that they could score from corners, ball position. We have to play and not 90 minutes in transition. So what do I make of all of those points then? So we are not playing football. We're not controlling the game. So that is the main point of what an Unai Emery side wants to do. Control the football, dominate possession. If we've got the ball, the opposition haven't got it. They can't hurt us. We're wanting the 90 minutes to pass. I feel like this is to do with time wasting. We're just going through the emotions. We're just waiting to get to the 90-minute mark. And you could see on Saturday that we just didn't want the ball in the second half. We really didn't want the ball. We weren't controlling the ball. And then the final point that he makes about transitions and that we have to play and not not playing transition. So what is a transition? So if Aston Villa have the football, moving forward quickly, we lose the ball, we then have to go back and defend in a transition. We then have the ball, we lose it quickly, we then defend quickly again. So that's like a transition of having the ball, losing the ball, having the ball, losing the ball. And that is exactly what was happening on Saturday. We can't play a football match playing in a transition all the time. And that is the big point that he's saying. We have to keep the ball and not playing transitions, not playing 30-second spells of having it, and then a 5-minute spell of not having it where we're under the cosh. And then we might get the ball and have a little bit of a break. So I think we've really got to stop doing that. And I think that's a trait of what we've been for so many years, isn't it? You watch Villa and, we defend for long periods and then we're wasteful with the ball. And that's that whole thing of when we were defending for so many years as well. And it was always chaotic. We were always on the edge. The back line gets further and further back. We camped in our 18-yard box. That's frustrating. And then he also mentioned for the third goal, the supporters can go and review and analyse the click. We have the ball and we give them the ball and then they score. So, he's bitterly frustrated and it's just not good enough. So, that's what he said. And he reiterated how frustrated he was. He said there's going to be a reaction quickly, very different to what we've seen before. I expect something massive from the side going into the Everton game. And I totally feel Emery's frustration because, the way in which he wants us to play in that second half, we just got so deep and it was just so frustrating that we just didn't have the belief to sort of get hold of the ball and do some of the good things that we were doing in the first half, because we've shown that we can score 2 well-worked, brilliant goals. But, it was just so annoying, and we've got to get better with the ball. We've got to play it out better. We've got to stop time wasting. We've got to just show what we're all about a little bit more and just be braver on the ball. And yeah, so my main point is 110% back Unai Emery. Whatever Unai Emery is doing, I back him because he wants to play football the correct way. And we just got. I know it's going to take time with these players. Half of them probably won't be here next season, but they've got to sort it out. They've got to sort it out. The players have. Justin.
Nice rant. I love a rant. I love a Luke rant. He's got a vision in his head, hasn't he? He's been in the game for a very, very long time. He's had enormous amounts of success with multiple clubs, as we've said, ever since he's arrived. And in his head, he knows exactly the end goal for this team. He knows exactly where he wants this team to be in 18 months' time, 2 years' time. He also knows what it takes to be an elite team, to compete at the top of major leagues in European competitions, to win trophies. And when you've got all that swirling around in your head and you're on that training ground day in, day out, week in, week out, and you're looking at the players you've currently got, you have to somehow make that work to your vision. Now, I'm 99% sure that he hasn't got the right tools at his disposal to get to that end goal. He just hasn't. That's not there at the moment. We know there's going to be signings in the summer. We know we're going to improve season on season and window on window. So how do you get to that point? And this is the problem he's having. We currently play in spells. I think we've probably had a good couple of solid halves where we've been really, really good. I can't remember a full 90 off the top of my head where we've been really, really good. And he sees these pockets of play, and we all see them, when we play very, very well for a 5 or 10 minute spell. This is what he's on about in transition, I think. And he wants to just stretch those pockets out, to more time during a game. He wants a half where we dominate, and then he wants a full 90 minutes where we dominate. But to do that, you have to control the game, and for some reason, we find that very difficult to control the game. And at times, we look rushed, we look panicked, we look scared. Sometimes, especially when we're ahead in games, it's almost like they expect that the worst case scenario is going to happen. I think that's what frustrates him when he was watching the game. Like some of his comments, about how good they are when he watches them on the training ground and why they can't transition that what he sees on the training pitch into a game mentality situation. So how do you dominate a game of football when you've got players that have got, they do switch off from time to time and there's mistakes in them all the time. So as a fan base, it's incredibly frustrating, but I think we've got to trust, and I do, for the first time in probably since the Graham Taylor days, that I know that there's a manager there that, given time and given the right backing, will get it right 100%. And this season is a write-off, whether we like it or not. We're not getting relegated. We're not finishing Europe. It's a write-off now. We all want to see us win week in, week out. So if we're going to make these mistakes and we're going to lose these games, lose them now, not next season. Learn now, and the players that are going to stay for the long term and for next season, and there is going to be a nucleus of this team, they are going to be added to, that there'll be, by the time the new players arrive, that the mentality is there and they need to come in and buy into that mentality. And it's important that players that are coming in can see what we're trying to do on the pitch. So we need to quickly, as possible, get to that point where we are trying to control a game. And yes, it's been difficult because we've played against two technically best two teams if you look at the league table of the season, so far. So we're not going to face that against Everton or Palace or West Ham. The games that are coming up next. So this is an opportunity for him now.
But you know what I would say about this, Justin, and I think this is the nature of the mentality of our manager. So you've just made a point of look at the two teams that we've just played, right? Arsenal, Man City. From what Unai Emery has said in all of these interviews, look at his reaction.
He's annoyed.
He's annoyed that we've lost to Arsenal, a team that are currently top of the league. Yeah. So the mentality of our manager, he's livid. He's fuming. He's fuming at the way we've played against the best team in the league. Yeah. So that has to filter down to the fans' expectations and their thoughts on the game as well. Because if he's livid, then I'm okay to be annoyed as well, because the manager is at the same time.
Well, it was almost like listening to a fan reacting, wasn't it, to the game? Yeah. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that that's happened. That shouldn't have happened. They're better than this. We are better than this. We better. Watch them week in, week out. They're better than this. They're not doing what I'm asking them to do. How many times have we heard that over the past few years?
What you'd normally get is like you'd get the normal. Watkins' goal was brilliant. Coutinho was great. We played really well in parts. If we can take some of those parts into the next game, we'll do really well. It was a little bit unfortunate with the one that hit off Martinez. Emery ain't saying it's unfortunate he hit off Martinez. Emery was saying we shouldn't have given the ball away to allow them to have the chance in the first place.
This is an elite mentality, though, isn't it?
This is how an elite manager thinks.
Yeah.
He's not feeling sorry for himself, that it's just bounced off the back of his head and gone in and, hard done by, and are these things over the course of a season level themselves out? You won't hear Unai Emery saying anything like that.
No. And one of the main reasons of that is because he does so much homework on each team. We've learnt this, and we were told this when he came in. There's not many managers in world football that put the time and effort into the amount of studious work. He sits down, watches hundreds of games. He gets all this information, collects all of the data that is available now to all these coaches and the Premier League teams. And he does all that to set out a team and a way of playing and a style of play, and gives them all their instructions as a whole, as a unit. The defence have got to do this, your midfielders need to do that, your forwards have got to be there and do this and do that. He gives them all this information, and at the end of the game, he sits back and he's annoyed because they haven't done what he's asked them to do. So is that the player's problem, or is it's not his problem, because he knows where he wants to get to, and ultimately, you give a manager a new manager a job. You'd give him that job to because he sold the club a vision. We went through Unai Emery because of what he is as a manager, and I suppose he spoke to the owners, and they went, "Yeah, I want some of that." Look what I've achieved. I'm confident with the right backing. We are a much bigger club than Villarreal, much bigger club than Villarreal, and what he's done there is phenomenal. So, given the right backing and the right players and time, he can easily replicate what he's done there at Villa. I've no doubts about that. That might sound really fanciful, but it's not. So how does he get that across to the players? You've got to trust them, and unfortunately, at the moment, not many of them really living up to the trust that he's trying to show them. I know we're stuck with what we've got at the moment, and I'm not digging them out. There's a lot of very good footballers there, but they've got a very, very finite amount of time now to convince him they've got a future at Villa. A lot of them.
Yeah, right. Let's have a look at some of the stats from the game then. 28% ball possession in the final third for Aston Villa. 53% final third entries to the box. 80% box entries to shots, and 25% shots to goals. This was the XG by the minute. Arsenal was 3.17. Aston Villa was 0.46. This is the second half here. This is what we're on about.
If there's ever a visualisation of that tells you exactly the tale of the game, doesn't it? Look at the way they dominated in the second half.
So it shows that first half we did very, very well. I felt like we edged the first half. I felt like we did edge the first half, but then for whatever happened second half, it's like that reverting back to type. What do we do? And I think the players collectively just thought we have to just get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and we just completely lost our way. And that graphic to me shows it perfectly.
It can be a mentality issue as well, can't it? Soft underbelly. When things start to turn, you've got to, as a collective, you've got to say, right, we're not taking this. We know we're under the cosh. We've got to somehow grab this game now and turn it around, and it's very difficult to do.
Yeah. Passing network from the game as well, slightly better than the Man City game, but still not as good at all really compared to Arsenal's. This was our XG shot map. Again, you can see the dominant side and the not so dominant side. Aston Villa's chance creation pretty much all came through the centre of the pitch in these areas here. These were like balls down to Ollie Watkins as well. Arsenal's chance creation heavy on here. This is where they scored 2 goals from outside of the box. We can have that's Villa's shot map so far this season. So let's have a look start off with one of the big positives then with this goal for me, and Ollie Watkins. Great ball. I think that's Cash, isn't it? The great ball over the top.
Yeah.
And the finish from Watkins in this area, he absolutely smashed it, and it was a fantastic finish, wasn't it, Justin?
Phenomenal, yeah. I mean, we all know strikers are a playoff form, don't they? And that he's in a confident run of form. First time I think in his career, he's got 4 in 4, and he looks like a player that's really starting to embrace the manager. What we've been talking about up to now. He's got standards, he's got levels, he's got what he wants, what his vision is of the team, and it definitely looks like Ollie Watkins has bought into it. We've all been critical of Ollie Watkins' his finishing, but the last 4 games he's been pretty much faultless. He's missed the odd half a chance, I think, in a couple of the games, but to score a goal a game in the Premier League, you can't really ask for more than that, can you? And he's comfortably now our top goal scorer, which is nice to see, especially after the Danny Ings exit and the worries surrounding our lack of striker depth. And I said it all along, hopefully nothing will happen to him, and he would be, whether Ings was here or not. Watkins was always our first choice striker. I think that was set in stone with the manager, and it's lovely to see because he's young enough to be. He's young enough to be anything he wants to be. He's got all the attributes to be an absolute beast of a striker. He's got pace in spades. He's good in the air. He's a good stature for a striker. He's got decent feet. And, he's showing now he can finish. And we
Yeah,
always knew if he could add goals to his game, he'll be a real threat, And look at some of the teams around us. And apart from, you'd say, Kane and of the obvious one, Haaland, how many strikers are absolutely banging them in this season? There's not that many. It is a very, very difficult league to score a lot of goals in, So he's going to hit double figures again. Hopefully, he can get up to maybe even 15 or so, and that'll give him the confidence to go on again next season, because I think the manager really likes him. I really do.
yeah, he does.
Can we fast
Right,
forward past this one?
let's have a look at this one then. Right, so Tyrone Mings against Leicester made a clearance and he knocked it straight into the same area that it came from. Now, Tyrone Mings in this position here, the ball's come down to him. He can clearly see that, wherever he heads that, he's either got to get height on it,
Yeah,
or he's got to pass it to a Villa player. The one thing you cannot do is knock it back there.
yeah.
And that is the area that he knocks that ball to. I really, looking when I was at the game, I thought, oh, maybe he was under it and sort of like he
Mm,
headed it and but when I've seen it numerous times now, why didn't he just do that?
yeah,
Why didn't he
out for a
just knock
corner.
it there or have a shout off Martinez to come and grab it? Or
You
I just
can't.
don't understand why you would head it back into there.
It was such. It's such a shame that we're talking about a mistake again from Mings, because he's been really, really good this season. I can't emphasise that enough. This was a really bad mistake, but they have been pretty few and far between this season on the whole. And about 5 minutes before that, less than 5 minutes before that, he made probably one of the best goal line clearances I've
Yeah,
seen in a very long time. And I know it was eventually ruled out. It would have been ruled out for offside, but he didn't know that at the time. And the athleticism he showed to get ahead of Nketiah and clear that ball literally off the goal line, which would have been a guaranteed goal had that not been offside. And I saw it on Twitter. It was like, that's Torrent. That's why he's in the team, and everyone was so chuffed for him when that happened. And then 2 minutes later, I don't know what it is. I just don't know what it is. It just a real blank moment, because he should have just headed it out for a corner. That would have been my number one thing: to head it out for a corner, and then you regroup and you just defend the corner.
yeah. To knock it into this danger area, terrible. Right.
And to
So
be honest, as well, looking at the other players around him, they're all pretty. None of them are on the toes, expecting the ball, are they? I think it looks like maybe Buendia, is it, and Buendia and Kamara are like the two closest player to Saka, and he's the one that reacted quickly enough to it. But I suppose Saka's already got a yard on
yeah,
Kamara there, so it's very harsh to even criticise them. But
yeah.
big mistake, and you saw it in his face. As soon as they scored, you could see he was so disappointed with himself.
Brilliant goal. Well worked goal. Beautiful dummy from Buendia. And a fantastic finish from Coutinho. What a goal this was. And especially first half, Coutinho had a good game.
Yeah.
Coutinho had a real good game. So nice finish.
Well, I was all for Durant to start. To be honest, I know he did
Yeah,
and when he started Coutinho, I was thinking, he did have a really big impact against City when he come on, but he did. He played very well. I'm glad he scored, because I'm glad he's showing that, hopefully getting some kind of, with a little cameo against City, and now that first hour against Arsenal, he's definitely showing signs of sparking into life, and it was a wonderful goal. Lovely through ball from Kamara down the left. Moreno doing what he looks like he's going to do a lot for us now, and cut the ball back. Lovely appreciation of who's around him with Buendia. And a lovely touch and finish from Coutinho. Absolutely wonderful goal. So frustrating, isn't it, that we can put these moments of magic together? Both of our goals so well worked. Disappointing to not come out with anything.
And you said moment of magic, Justin.
Sorry.
Poor performance.
Oh
Right,
dear.
next one.
Yellow card.
Right, next one. Here we go. So 1, 2. So short corners, they were doing it all game, weren't they? Arsenal would they don't want to get the ball in the box. They want to work a shape. They want to drag us out of position. One thing that I will say about this, and I said it to the lads in front of me at the game, why do we not leave one player up on a corner? Because if you leave one player up on the halfway line, they've then got to leave 2 back. We put everybody in the box, so it basically just means that everyone's in the box. They're camping us in our box. I don't understand why Watkins or Bailey are not like up top. One of them.
It is. I'm totally with you. It seems to be a professional football thing where they almost feel like they've got to get everybody back to set up for a corner, so it gives them the best chance of defending it. But certainly from my experience in Sunday League football, I used to play up front, and the first thing I would do when we had a corner is I'd go back and defend the corner because I was one of the biggest blokes, and I'd send 1 or 2 of the nippy sort of talent, more talented footballers up front, and just to stand on the halfway line. Because if nothing else, it creates them to think about, right, we've got to leave a couple of 3 players back here, or at least one marking, 1 free, and then maybe 1 in between the penalty box and the halfway line to pick up any loose balls. So straight away, with a corner taker, that's 4 players that can't be in the box.
Yeah.
So to like you say, to almost invite the whole of their team into your penalty box.
Because what they end up doing,
it.
they've got Zinchenko here, they've got someone probably around that area, someone just behind the ref. I mean, this is prime Stevenage. So, I mean, look at Zinchenko here. He's cranking that up. He's cranking that foot up. That
He's got all the time in the world, and he just take a touch.
Smacks that there. Why is nobody anywhere near him? I can't understand.
It's not like you say that it was multiple times I was using this short corner routine. It wasn't a one-off. I don't know. It's frustrating, and these are the kind of things that they'll look back and when they do their own debriefs days after, and they'll be pausing it probably exactly where you've paused it there, and be saying, why aren't we switched on more there, lads? Who's at the edge of the box? Who's marking him? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, there's six Arsenal players in the box, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Villa players in the box. So how is he free there?
The thing is though, if you are giving these players that type of opportunity to smack one in, a free hit, then you've got to be prepared for that to hit the back of the net.
Well, you've got to fancy to hit the target, haven't you? Professional footballer with a more or less a free shot on goal inside the box. They're going to hit the target, so you're creating problems for yourself, aren't you?
Yeah. Bailey found his right foot. Fantastic strike. Brilliant. He's so unlucky that it didn't bobble off the back of his head and go in. But
yeah,
that
Well, the tale of 2 posts, wasn't it? One hits the post and goes out. One hits the post and goes in. That's the nature of football, unfortunately. And this one, I just annoys the hell out of me. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't get this. Martinez's view through that there.
I don't know if you've got the view from behind the goal. It's even worse.
I haven't.
It's honestly how they are not interfering with the play. When you look at Martinez's position there, he's having to crouch down to try and get a view of where the shot is coming from. Now his feet there are pretty much planted. I'm not saying he could have got near it, but if he'd have had a better view of that shot, he might have been able to move himself slightly more to his left, which is our right, looking at that screen there, which might have given him that extra yard to maybe get a hand on it, or maybe not even be in the same position he was when he found himself falling to the ground after it hit the top of the bar to hit his head and go in. So to say that they're not interfering with plays is pathetic. Honestly, pathetic. I think they did look at it on VAR, but I don't think they was ever not going to give it, to be honest.
I'll put that in, but I'm not even going to mention it. So right, you know, we've gone through it. We've gone through Emery's frustration. We know what Emery's trying to do. We know how he's trying to play, and they just weren't grasping it, and they're currently not grasping it. And he mentions this big reaction for Everton, like, you know, he's saying like a reaction like we've not seen before. And you know, I felt like I'd misread Emery a little bit, because when I kept saying a couple of weeks ago, like, we want to see like a performance, you know, I was reading into that he wanted us to like just play well and get a result and just do whatever. But what I'm reading from it now is that he wants to show us how we play, and all of the good work that he does on the training pitch. So that transitions to Villa, coming to Villa Park and not just playing well and winning on the counter attack. He wants us to be dominant. He wants us to boss a game with the ball, with possession, where we suck the life out the opposition, where they don't even have the ball, can't even get the ball. And that is what he wants. And you know, you made a great point, Justin, of Emery's won numerous trophies. He's a successful guy, and him watching what he's been watching the last couple of weeks, he's probably thinking like, what are they doing? And he's probably more than frustrated. And I'm not saying that he can't ever come under criticism, because he obviously he can. Like, if I had to be critical of Emery in that game, I'd say I don't think he should have took Dougie Luiz off.
No.
And I don't think he should have took Watkins off. You know, I think when you take both those big players off the Villa, I think we're going backwards even more. I mean, if you see Dendoncker coming on the pitch, your initial thought might probably be, well, this is salvage mode.
And
I
would have put Duran on for Coutinho. Because he put Bailey on, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think there's no. The one big thing coming up from this game was the Martinez thing, wasn't it? We haven't really spoke about that. When he went up for that corner, and there was this bit of a fallout afterwards, and people questioned him, "Oh, is it something you like?" And he basically said he doesn't like it, and he didn't give him permission to do it. And you know, this is something now. The Emi Martinez thing is something I think that's going to rumble on now for the rest of the season. What do we do? And I think there's a bit of a what do you want to call it, between Martinez and Emery, of who's the boss kind of thing. Martinez has come back obviously with this big ego which he's got, which we all love. We love him for it, and he's been an absolute phenomenal goalkeeper for us since the day he signed for us. But I do think Emery's now somehow got to rein him in a little bit, because he's been a bit of a loose cannon, hasn't he, on the pitch?
Well, and you know, the thing is,
it's a power play, isn't it, now, between the two of them, I think, a little bit.
I think it's okay having that bit of swagger when you're on a football pitch with when you're on a football pitch with Messi, Alvarez, you're on the football pitch with McAllister, Enzo Fernandez, you're ripping it up at the World Cup. But when you ain't backing it up for your club team, and we're not exactly like setting the Premier League alight, you've got to rein that in a little bit, because, you know, not more times than not. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Totally. I think what's happening is it's becoming. Whereas at first it was quite funny, and we got one or two really nice 1-0 away wins, didn't we? Where he was doing it. I think Brighton away, was it? We were 1-0, and it was really good the way we saw the last 10 minutes out. Spurs away, we saw the game out really well. But at the moment, it's feeling a bit counterproductive. It's feeling a bit like, you know, we are winding the opposition up too much now. And you could see when they got the winner, well, the third, that they were really, really glad that they could rub it into Martinez's face, really, because he was doing all this time wasting. And we don't want it to become a counterproductive thing to do. What it should be there for, and a lot of players do it, is game management, and that's seeing the clock down to win a game 1-0, not take the piss in the last 25 minutes and wait
Well,
for
not
the
when you're not
inevitable yellow
winning.
card. Well, yeah.
Like, it's 2-2, and that's where I think Emery's frustration, when it mentioned that quote about we are waiting for the 90 minutes to pass.
Yeah.
We're trying to get a 2-2 draw at home, but that's not what Emery wants to do.
No.
Emery wants to win the football match. He
No.
doesn't want us to get a 2-2 draw at home. So I think that's part of the that's part of the problem.
It is, and he's got to rein him in a bit. And I think there was a bit of a in the interviews he did, and when he was asked about him, I think that was a bit of telling Emmy, "I'm the boss here. I'm the manager. You do what I say," and he has to toe the line. Absolutely has to. And I expect him to do that. I think it'll be probably have a private conversation in the week. They'll probably be very frank in what they both think. I would imagine Martinez was just really, really peed off that that third had gone in off his head, and he was just trying to go up and try and somehow salvage something out of the game, and it backfired on him massively getting the fourth. So it became a bit of a thing after the game, with a lot of the press picking up on it and asking the manager the question. And for me, he just said that he doesn't like it. He never told him he could go up. And I would hope he'll just say to Martinez, "Don't do that in the future. I don't play like that." And Martinez just takes it on the chin because he has to. Ultimately, he's Villa's goalkeeper, isn't he? He's not the manager. So, but the Emmy thing is definitely something that's going to roll on, I think, to the end of the season. What do we do with him in the long term? But that's for another day, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got Everton away next.
I'm off to Goodison.
Yeah, fair play. That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
But, like, I know we've gone into this and we're not happy, but we've got to go there and try and win.
Absolutely. I've no doubt.
We have to go there and try and go for the victory. I mean, my early thoughts on Everton so far is they've done well. They've got 2 results against Arsenal and Leeds at home. I don't think they're playing great football. I think get the ball to McNeil, get it in the box, win second balls, third balls, do all of that dogged, determined, turn up sort of stuff. But we've got to go there and try and play football. And if we do that, we win the game. We get a positive result from that game.
I mean, don't forget they played a Leeds team that didn't have a shot on target on Saturday. I just can't, for the life of me, think we're going to turn up and be that bad. We're just not. We've come off the back of 3 very disappointing results, 3 losses. We've been generally very, very good away from home under Emery, so I think that's a chance to go away and do the same again that we did. We had a half decent second half against Man City. And they'll be wanting to put it right. I've no doubt they'll be wanting to put it right. He's already alluded to that, hasn't he? Like you've said, he wants to put on a show on Saturday, and he wants to turn things around and give us a positive end to the season. And whilst Everton are fighting for their lives, they've got themselves clear a little bit now, with a little bit of momentum. So, if anything, the pressure's off a little bit off them now. They will want to carry that on, obviously, because they want to move away as quickly as they can. But I think we can go there and try and win the game. I think that's what we will definitely be trying to do. Team selection will be interesting this week as well, given what we've seen this week. So lots and lots to get into this week, with another game on the horizon.
Definitely. So I think that's us done for today then. So cheers everyone that's watched it, that's got this far. Subscribe, drop the video a like, get involved in the comment sections like always. And up the Villa.
Up the
The
Villa.
Emery.
Keep the faith.